Okay, so this is Mishlei 26:9. Okay. Choach Allah biad shikor umashal b'fi ksilin. This is a good one. So choach is a word that you probably don't know because it's very uncommon. Choach mitzvah says min coats. A thorn, right? Okay, so there's two translations of this, I think. Okay, so even within Mitzvah Tzion, so either a thorn, okay, and here I have to also insert the word like, a thorn, or I think the other way to translate it is a bramble. Okay, and you know what a bramble is?
A viney thorn.
Say again?
A viney thorn.
Vine? What do you mean by that? Like
You said bramble?
Yeah.
Isn't like vines? Like
Yeah, right.
Points on the vine.
Right. So in other words, like this, either we're talking about like the actual the little prickly thing, or a branch of thorns, or like a vine of thorns. All right. So in terms of imagery, well, you'll see it in a second. Okay. Bramble. Allah biyad shikor. So it's a kind of a cumbersome phrase.
Went up.
Yeah.
In the hand of the drunk.
That went up in the hand of a drunk.
Nice.
Okay, so this is why it matters, because look at how, I know we're skipping ahead for a second. Look at how Saadia translates it. Actually, we'll finish. Let's not skip ahead. Umashal b'fi. So is a mushal, okay, in the mouth of fools, right? So look how Saadia says it. Okay, he says, kechoach shenidbach biad shikor, right? Like a thorn stuck in the hand of a drunk. Right, so he is taking it as thorn, that is like Allah means it has gone into. But if you say it is a bramble, then it could just mean that he's like wielding it, or like he picked it up, you know. So I'm not sure which one it is. And I think Allah Torah, how's Allah Torah side? I forgot if this is definitive. Allah Torah says briar or bramble. They also say hook, ring, or fetter, but I didn't see anyone who translated it that way when I didn't look at all of the meforshim yet. But yeah, so I think like I don't think you use the word bramble for this a single little like thing, you know. I think it's like the branch itself. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
This is it, right? Bramble.
That would be a bramble. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's that.
Or actually, I have a screen. We have a time machine. Okay. Did you just Google images bramble?
Yeah, I just
apparently it's also a mixed drink. Let's look at briar. Bramble branch sounds like the name of a district in Hobbiton or something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like that, right? The branch of bramble. There you go. Right. So the imagery either is the drunkard holding that, or one of those little thingies that's in his hand. Yeah. Okay. So like thorn stuck in the hand of the drunk. Oh, kach mashahu min hachma b'fi haksilin. So too, how would you translate that? Mashahu min hachma.
What little chachma the ksilim have?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say I think I'm more inclined like the way we use mashahu and like divrei chazal. So is a tiny amount of wisdom in the mouth of fools, and we saw this in 26. In last week's pasuk 26:7, right? We saw that Saadia also translated Dalia Shukaim mipisech umashal b'fi ksilin. He translated mashal as chachma, stam, right? So he is universalizing this for whatever reason. What? Okay. Targum. I forgot to look up Targum again. All right. Kuva salik bida deravia. Okay, we're gonna ignore Targum for now. Okay, if we need to, if we want to, we'll treat him as one with the Pirushim. What?
Shatiusa, like shtus.
Shtus, yeah. Oh, that is interesting, right? Shatiusa b'fume desikla. That's strange. That is strange, right? To translate it that way, and I don't think he translated it that way in 26:7, right? Yeah, here he says. To kabel milsam min pume de sifla, right? You received a statement from the mouth of a fool. Yeah, fine. All right, so that's Sarafian. Okay, our scroll says like a thorn stuck in the hand of a drunkard. So is a parable in the mouth of a fool. We'll just fill this in here. I think we did this last time also. So what are the three senses of mashal?
Proverb.
Okay, proverb, right? Which is like a pithy saying.
Chachma.
Oh, I guess there's four if you're going to include Saadia.
Metaphor.
Metaphor, right?
guess parable.
Yeah,
right?
parable, right? And a parable is a short illustrative story. Okay, right. So, and I would include example, like when you say like lamashal, that's in the category parable. I would say allegory is in the category metaphor. I'd say proverb, epigram, idiom, saying, like these are three like general categories here. Yeah.
What's the difference between those?
Let's do it this way. Okay, hold on. Let's go like. Okay, so proverb equals short saying equals epigram. I think that's a thing, right?
I don't know what kind of short saying.
The early bird gets the worm.
Isn't that a metaphor?
No, I mean it's not. I mean you can have overlap, right? But not all proverbs are metaphors, and not all metaphors are
I mean, if
proverbs.
they're not meant to tell you something about a nimshal.
Right. Yeah. Meaning, like you could say, for example, like when you say like a stitch in time saves 9, right? That's like another thing. That's not intended to be metaphorical. That's giving it's a proverb in the style of an example, right? That if you stitch this now, you're going to save yourself 9 stitches, later.
We use it not literally about stitches.
Right, but that's not. In other words, it's not that the stitch is like has a nimshal. It's the stitching is an example of a larger category.
Okay.
It's not another. Yeah, meaning. Let me just spell this out here, right? So then you have metaphor, allegory. Some people would include like riddle in there. Okay, I don't really care how to categorize it. What was that?
That's a simile.
Simile, yeah.
Witticism.
Simile, witticism. I
That's
don't know.
just a synonym for epigram.
And then a parable, short illustrative story, example, case. Okay, so these are like the 3 senses of the word mashal, and there's overlap. It's like a Venn diagram. You could have something that partakes of 2 of the categories, all 3. Yeah. Okay. So our school says like a thorn in the hand of a drunkard, so is a parable in the mouth of fools. Living Knox says like a thorn stuck in the hand of a drunkard, so is the proverb in the mouth of fools. That's closest to ours. And Alter says a thorn comes up in the hand of a drunkard, and a proverb in the mouth of fools. I think that's similar enough that we don't really need to care about that. Okay, what are the questions? Yeah.
Wait, does Alter mean to say that like a shiur is going to get a thorn stuck in his hand?
I don't know. I think he is. I think he is going still with the past tense, right? Oh, actually, he says it present. Allah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay, yes.
How does a shiur react to having a thorn in his hand?
Okay, good question, right? So I'm just going to clarify the question by saying in the mashal, okay, what is the significance, or what are the facts? The facts in the case of choach Allah biad shikor, right? Like, what does that imply? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and like does that question include how drunk is the athlete? Like
yeah, I think so. Right. Yeah. Like how drunk is he?
Like perm drunk or like drunk? It's so funny. Which one's worse?
That's funny though. It was just funny. Like I didn't know Shabbos drunk was a category, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
You for sure know.
I'm sure I for sure know what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Why is that? I guess part of one else. So why does it have to be drunk, not just anyone?
Yeah. Right. So why specify a drunkard? Yeah. Yeah. Truthfully, I'm kind of just of 2 minds as to how to phrase these questions. Like you could just say, what are all the elements of the mashal, right? And then what are the elements of the nimshal? Because just like with the last pasuk we did, we could break up the elements in different ways, right? So like you could say that this is all just one idea, or you could say shikur is a mashal for something, and choach is a mashal for something, and Allah is a mashal for something, and like biado is a mashal for something, So like maybe the like, let's just say this in the mashal. Let's just say it like this: what are the elements of the mashal? Okay, like, and then how do those correspond, or like what is the relationship between what is the idea, right? What is the idea? I know these are general questions. What is the relationship between the mashal and the nimshal? And then I'll just add here, specifically, what is a shiur? What is a choach? What does it mean that it is Allah biado? Allah biado. Yeah, I'm not saying God's name many times. Yeah.
What's so unique about the hand?
Yeah, like why specify in his hand? Yeah. And then I'll include the question here. Is it stuck in his hand? Is he wielding a bramble? Right? Like, yeah.
And if stuck, how did it get stuck?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
How did it get there? We could ask that on both of them. Yeah. Ellie?
We don't think that the conceal, we define it as a fool, but we don't really understand it as a fool,
Right, not like a low IQ fool.
right.
Right,
So,
yes.
what kind of fool are we
Sure.
talking
So what does conceal mean in this context? Right. So is it a generic conceal, a technical conceal? And if the latter, what definition? Right. That's the question we had on the last two also. And we took various approaches. That could be a one. Yeah, Jakob?
What's the outcome of the thing in his hand?
Yeah, so what is the consequence in the Mishlei and the Nimshal, right? Yeah, I was.
What does Allah mean as opposed to just be in his hand?
Yeah, what?
If it was just that there's a thorn in his hand, then like you just say, well,
Yeah, so I mean, I think we can still ask the question, but I think that that might be why Saadia says stuck in his hand, because if it just said choach biyad shiur, then you would have the ambiguity of him holding it, and Saadia might be taking a stand saying, "Oh, Allah means that it is in his hand,"
Okay.
And for all I know, that's also just the way you talk about thorns in Hebrew getting stuck in people. I don't have enough knowledge to know. Yeah. Okay, what else?
Did we ask what does it mean to have a mashal in his mouth?
No, we did not, right? And I think we had a similar question last time, which is why specify, what does it mean for a mashal to be in his mouth, right? Why not just in his mind, right? If he knows a mashal, is that going to have the same consequence? Is it only if he's talking about it? Is it if he's teaching it? Yeah.
Insofar as the relationship between the mashal and nimshal, who's the one who's getting damaged when the conceal happens?
Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's just say this: what is the consequence? Most of the nimshal is in the nimshal. In the nimshal is the consequence to the conceal, or to others, or to both, right? From the mashal, it's hard to tell, right? Because if it's the thorn stuck in his hand, then it's definitely to him. But if he's wielding it, then it might be to both. Because if you're grabbing onto a bramble, you're going to get your hand punctured, and you're going to be scratching in danger of injuring others. Yeah.
But I also think even if he's not wielding it, it could still be if he's say now in pain, then if he's just gonna he's writhing in pain, he might just go around and mess up.
Right. Right. That's true. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Are we missing anything?
I feel like we are.
Yeah, the audience. Yeah. Who is the intended audience? You know what? Let's just, I don't usually do this, but since we had this last week, I just want to cheat and just look at our, because the second half of last week's pasuk was the same as this one, right? So for that one, we got our, what is the ksil? Who is the audience? Why is it b'fi ksil instead of just the ksil? How did he get the mashal in the first place? So we could just cheat. No, I mean, I like these formulations of the questions better. So I'm just gonna, let's just go like this. Hold on. I know they're not all gonna be the same, but so we got this. Who is the audience? Why is Befik Sealim? Yeah, that just mess everything up. Never mind. All right, that's fine. Yeah. So which one do we not have? How did the seal get the mushal, right? How did the seal get the mushal in the first place?
What does that question mean?
Someone didn't you ask that? No, you weren't there. Someone asked that last week. I don't think this is I wouldn't ask this question, but like, is it, is he learning it from someone else? Is he reading it? Is he coming up with it?
And what's the definition of the full?
Yep, I think we got that one.
Oh, we did.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. All right, so what do you say? Yeah, Ali?
Okay, so based off what I understand of the seal, like what we've gone over in the past.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, I think there's like a bit of an overlap between a seal and a drunk person.
Okay.
Not like complete overlap.
Yeah, no, I like that though.
I'd say lack of understanding consequence.
Okay.
And maybe acting very instinctually or spontaneously.
Yeah.
So I think
that's good.
Here in a way that, like, holding this prickly branch is something that if you do spontaneously, then don't pay attention to the consequences will harm you.
Yeah. Okay, right. So it's sort of a short-sightedness that stems from like lack of like thinking, sufficient thinking, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Go first.
So I haven't thought about what would happen if the drunk person has a thorn in their hand.
Yeah.
So with the thorn in their hand, what it requires to remedy the situation is just a few moments of careful focus to extract it.
Yeah.
But a drunk person is doesn't have the hand-eye coordination focus to do that.
Yeah.
And so he's just going to be in pain, and he might try to do other things to remove the pain, but he's just not going to be able to actually do it.
So that's interesting. So I was thinking about that possibility, and I'm going to object to it, but I'm not going to object strongly, meaning that you can maybe convince me otherwise. But to me, the primary sense of the mashal is the occurrence of the thorn going into his hand. Your mashal is really after that situation, if he wants to remedy it. And to my mind, that is already taking one step past the primary mashal.
I'm saying that the primary mashal is that the thorn is going to be persistently in his hand.
Right. Okay, I hear that. That's why I can be convinced otherwise. Yeah. I'm just expressing my intuition that that's going let's say I'm going to give an exaggerated possibility. Let's say you were to give an explanation that the drunk person, seizes on the thorn so much that in order to get it out, he has to go to a doctor to get it extracted. There, I would say that's taking the mashal too far out of its primary sense. And I'd say that the fact of it being there, that's the primary sense. And then yours is somewhere in the middle of those two. And I know what you're saying is that it really is the mashal. I'm saying my intuition is that it's a little bit to the left of that.
Okay.
That's to express my objection. Yeah.
I have a weird take.
Okay.
It's based on the speculation what the facts even are.
Okay.
So it'd be totally
Okay.
allows.
At least you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps a shiur, unlike a normal person, has senses that are dulled.
Yeah.
So a normal person, if they get stuck with thorn,
Yeah.
thorn would immediately be in pain and take it out.
Yeah.
The shiur might not even notice as much. It might just
Okay.
be staying there.
I don't think that's a wild speculation. I think that's shot. I think that's
I don't know. I still know what a shiur actually
right.
is.
So I actually did have to look this. So I have.
I'm thinking along the lines of Iago.
Yeah. So I've it certainly seems like this in the movies. Okay. That people who are drunk don't experience pain as much. That's the thing of the guy gets the bottle hit over his head and he just jollily laughs it off, But and then I had an experience once on Purim where it was after Purim Suda and I was walking home and I was walking in the middle of the street and I didn't see that there was a slight pothole And like I stepped, yeah, it was really funny. No, I'm just kidding. Gone. No, I'm just kidding. I tripped and I fell and I scraped my knee, and like I was obviously aware that I fell, and like it didn't really hurt. And then like later on that night, like I think I went to sleep and I woke up and I was like, I looked at my leg. I was like, oh, like it actually like tore the pants and like gashed my knee, and like there was like blood. You know, it wasn't like I didn't need to like get medical attention. There's like gravel like in the in the thing, you know. And I realized like that was the first and only experience I've had, I think, to my knowledge. Oh, and actually no, there's that experience, and then there was a time. I think it was my second Purim ever. So it was like the second time I'd ever gotten drunk, and it was a very early Purim in the year, and we were at Rebbe's house, and like it was in the middle of the Saadia, and then I think I went outside to talk with Rabbi Schwartz for a while, and like after like 15 minutes, I'm like, it is extremely cold, you know, and like I just didn't realize that like I just wasn't sensitive to the cold, you know. So I was thinking about these experiences when I read the pasuk, and I decided to do some Google research. Okay, effect of alcohol on pain. I forgot how I searched for it. Laboratory studies confirm that alcohol does indeed reduce pain in humans and in animals. Moreover, recent research suggests that as many as 28% of people experiencing chronic pain. That may be for different reasons. Okay, but wait, how does alcohol affect pain? It's interesting. Although alcohol does not directly alleviate pain symptoms, inebriation does confuse the central nervous system enough that pain sensations are less sharply interpreted. I saw another thing that said that like it's not just the emotional pain, but even like physical senses and stuff. So I think that I don't think that's a wild speculation. I think that's a good shot. Yeah.
So based on that, maybe one thing it's trying to highlight is that there's like a sensitivity.
Yeah.
Like a muscle in a person should affect you.
I don't know. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like I don't know exactly what reaction it would be causing, but like if the thorn stuck in your hand, it should be doing something to you.
Right. Right.
But the seal doesn't even notice that he has
so that's really interesting, because I was thinking the opposite. I'm just going to state both. Oh yeah, you want to say?
Yeah. That's it. Okay, so the first half of what I want to say is like Yaakov, like you know, it's like the thorn in your hand.
Yeah.
You don't really feel it so much.
Yeah.
You're drunk. And it relates to the marshal, because if the fool, he may have wisdom, he may have a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
But that the issue is it's I'm going to use reciting, but the issue is it's just a little. Like he doesn't really have a full grasp of knowledge.
Okay, good.
And ultimately, that's what will hurt him, because he thinks he knows enough, but really he doesn't. And if he goes out, you know, sharing this knowledge or whatever he's doing with it, that's gonna sting him, you know, in the long run.
Okay, so I think that fits in really well with Saadia Gaon. By the way, there's anyone know the English proverb that corresponds to Ariel's interpretation?
Yeah, my someone told me that, like so I forgot what it was. Someone told me at work, like there are like 3 stages of knowledge. Like,
oh no, I'm thinking of a different one. Anyone know what I'm thinking of? A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing.
That's what he told me.
Oh, okay.
Like there's 3 stages. Like
I didn't think of 3 stages. Just one statement, but yeah. All right, so we got several approaches. Let me say mine, and then we'll just compare and contrast here. So I was thinking that the okay. Actually, I want to compare it to the one we did last week. So let's do the Alter's interpretation. Thighs hang slack on the lame, and a proverb in the mouth of fools. Okay, right. So there, I think one of the interpretations we gave is that the seal, just like a person who is crippled or whose leg is like withered, he has the leg, but it doesn't have its function. Okay, so too the seal has the muscle but doesn't have the nimshal, right? But if you look at this muscle here, a person who is crippled knows that he can't walk, right? He knows they can't walk in the normal way. But in our pasuk, it's the opposite: is that he doesn't know that this is that this is the case, right? So I was thinking that if you take a muscle, and I think this works actually for all 3 definitions of muscle. If you take a muscle and you misunderstand it, then it's going to be harming you in some way. Whether it's you're taking something literally that should be taken figuratively, or whether it's you are misapplying like the scope of the mashal or whatever. But I was thinking that the seal doesn't realize the harm he's causing himself by him taking the mashal like in the wrong way. And then what Yago was saying, so in other words, for me, I'm saying that the harm is coming from the fact that he doesn't, that the mashal is like the thorn in that it's harming him and he doesn't realize it. Yago's taking it that the mashal is supposed to have like a visceral impact on you, and it's not. Just like the thorn is you're supposed to realize that you got stuck by the thorn and to take it out, and the drunk person does not. Is that a fair? Yeah.
Yeah. An example could be, like someone says, "Oh, it's a great market,"
Yeah.
to sell a house or whatever.
Yeah.
So so some people, they just go and tell everyone that it's a great market, but in reality, it's true, it's a great market, but it depends on what you're selling. And if
Right.
you're selling
Right.
single-family homes, like they don't have.
So that's like a
full knowledge.
misapplication
It's a
of that.
misapplication, and
Yeah.
he's hurting himself and it's hurting other
Right.
people too.
So I just with Ariel's interpretation, I understand his nimshal, but I don't quite understand the mashal. So just to elaborate here with Saadia, that if you have a little bit of chachma, but you don't have either you don't have enough to make the proper conclusion, or you don't have the context. And a good example of this is I think there's a shiur where Rebbe, I don't know if he calls it this or if I just labeled it the chicken fallacy. So there's this chicken, okay, and he is on this farm, right, and like this guy, like this man, comes up and like gives him like a ton of feed, and he's like, oh great, so he eats the feed, and then next day the farm does the same thing, and the next day, so then the chicken goes, oh, I must be a king and this is my servant, and then the day after that the farmer chops his head off, right? So what was the chicken's mistake is he generalized too early. Right? So he didn't have all the facts before he made the inference, so it could be that the seal doesn't have enough facts in order to make the inference, or it could be that he just doesn't have the experience needed to evaluate it, or it could be that he doesn't have the full context. Another common example of this, we were talking about this in Raman Bakius, and Rav Schechter mentioned that on that podcast that I mentioned, that people nowadays Google something, a halakhic thing, and then they find a statement, and then they think that they're posek. They just are. They think that or better example yet, people using WebMD and diagnosing themselves, or weighing in on coronavirus policies, there's a person who's been an epidemiologist for decades, but I, from my Google search, can be equal to that, it's just taking a little bit of knowledge and then making more of it than a real chacham would. Real chacham would be deliberate and realize when you need more knowledge. So I get that for the nimshal. I don't get exactly how that fits into the mashal. Yeah.
What don't you get about the mashal?
I just don't see at all how it corresponds to the mashal. Yeah.
Okay, for our understanding of this pasuk, then who's
I get nothing. Yeah.
getting harmed?
So in our understanding, it sounds like the seal is getting harmed, right? Because according to you, he's not being affected by the mashal in the way that it should affect him. And in my understanding is he is not realizing the damage that taking the mashal in the wrong way is causing him. That's the essential mashal, according to the way we're taking it. According to Ariel's way, then he could be harming himself or others, depending on how vocal he is. And I think also, according to our interpretations, we're not really focusing on the befik sealim, right? If anything, we're going to say that the befik sealim is just a side point where if he's saying it, then it's going to be even worse. But essentially, it's the way he's understanding it, according to us, right? Yeah.
I know some of you don't get it, but I'm trying to understand what specifically don't you get, because I thought that with the branch, if he's holding the branch and he's numb to it, that's what I'm trying to say. He's numb to the knowledge. I mean, numb just means that he's not understanding what it actually is. He's not understanding the impact of the knowledge.
Saying the impact of knowledge.
I mean, he's drunk. He's not aware of the consequences. He's not aware of the pain that he's gonna have if he has this little knowledge. I mean, the thorn is the knowledge, and the drunkenness is him not being aware.
Maybe that's the weird thing. Also, is I don't get how the thorn is the knowledge. I
mean, the thorn.
Does anyone understand what Ariel's saying?
I think I think I didn't fully catch your nimshal, but I think what he's saying is that he's wielding. Is it the mushal is the bramble, and he's wielding a bramble.
Yeah.
He's not explaining.
You're not saying thorn. You're saying bramble.
Whatever. What's the difference between bramble and thorn? I'm just saying.
Well,
like,
thorn is
he's
one
wielding-
little splinter. Thorn is a splinter. Bramble is a branch filled with
The
thorns.
bramble, he's holding the bramble,
Yeah.
and he's wielding. That's a good way. He's wielding it.
Yeah.
He's wielding that knowledge, but because it's it's not full knowledge or whatever it is, he's not aware of the.
Okay, so where's the not full knowledge in the nimshal or in the mushal? In the mushal, I don't see like
full knowledge.
like the fact there's the essence of your idea is that this guy only has a little bit when he should have a lot, right?
Well, the bramble, like if you want to look at the anatomy of a bramble, it's just a bunch of little thorns. It's a bunch
Right.
of little thorns. It's not like a full bush or like whatever with like a bunch of many different leaves.
I don't know. This
I'm
it
just- I
just
don't
seems
know
so
what's
forced. Like why
is
not
it
say it like?
forced?
Because what does this have anything to do with a bramble or a drunk person? Like I just don't see it. Yeah, you
Well,
want to
the drunk
explain?
person's immune. He's not.
He's
how
immune
is
to the
that-
knowledge. I just don't. I don't get it. Like yeah.
I think-
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Whether it be a mushel or be bramble itself, those are something that are stimulating. to a certain
Yeah.
degree, and when you're either drunk or concealed, you're somewhat desensitized. to basic.
So, but desensitization is not. I don't think what you're saying. You're saying
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
I have no clue what you're saying. Ariel.
I-
Like you're. I thought your whole thing was like the guy had like no. The problem when the guy says it's a great market is not that he's desensitized. It's that he doesn't understand what it means to have a great market. It's not like according to you, it's he's desensitized. According to me, it's he's desensitized. That I understand. You're saying
He's desensitized in his delusion and attempting to understand more about this specific area. Like he's just deluding himself.
you want to explain?
Yeah, I was saying. Okay, I think that I maybe modify what Ariel's saying
Okay.
a little bit. He's not specifically saying that it's a lack of knowledge.
Okay.
He's saying he's saying that the like knowledge can have like sharp parts.
Yeah.
And he's just not and Axel just isn't like aware of those.
Yeah.
And so he'll be like holding a branch, and he's just thinking he's holding a tree branch,
Yeah.
and he's not aware of all of the like sharp parts that are like sticking in.
Okay. So that might be different.
No.
That's it? Okay.
Exactly what I was saying.
Okay. So
He said it way better than I.
okay. So let me show you something, and you tell me if this fits in with what you're saying. The Malbim has this hilarious take on the pasuk, okay, but I think it actually fits in very well with what you're saying, okay. And you guys don't have the Malbim on in your packet. I think it's hilarious. You'll either laugh or you won't laugh. Okay, so he says, okay, so he has one small difference, which is he takes it the Rabbeinu Yonah's definition of ksil, which is a pleasure addict. He says, Shaksil zeh, this ksil, hashikur mahmas yein hataiva, who's drunk on the wine of desire. It's very, very poetic, right? Asher niktatu raglav shokav kiniskelael, whose feet are cut off and his thighs are lame, like we mentioned above. He's just referencing the other two mashalim. We don't really need that for our part. Who shochev v'holech al yado, so he's lying on his hand. Okay, ad she'ala choch biadav shu. Wait, sorry. This is not the one I wanted. Sorry, it's not the Malbim. It's not the Malbim. It's the even Kaspi. Sorry. Okay, it is funny. I mean, the imagery in his is funny also, but it's not the funny that I was looking for. Okay, wait, did I do this right? Nope, hold on. It's the second even Kaspi. Okay, here we go. Hine asa lamala mashal acher. So above, this is the cripple one. It is that's another mashal. Lamashal b'fi ksilim l'tachli zacher. So he's clarifying that the pasuk 7 was about a different idea. Okay. V'hamadrega, v'hu shehi b'fi haksilim hamadrega pechusa, which is that the mashal in the mouth of fools is on a lower level, just like the walking or the legs of a cripple are on a lower level. Okay. The ata, but now osem mashal acher l'takli zacher. Now it's giving another mashal for another purpose. Shu yoser mufla, which is more pronounced or exaggerated. Who she'enu nimsa b'ksil mimenu klal pirio. That I don't know exactly how to translate this, but that you don't find in a ksil at all the fruits. I think he means the fruits of the mashal. And even what you find in him is damaging and it causes pain to him. The explanation, okay, and I don't know how many other people were thinking of roses, but like I think that's the common thing is that the choach is the thorns that are found around the rose. The normal way to do is you take a rose and you smell it, okay? L'rov tuv recha, because it smells so good. And when he's drunk, he doesn't see, he doesn't know. He takes the thorn that's around the rose, and he smells it, and he thinks that the thorn is the rose, and he pokes his nose. Okay, so like the coordinated normal person is like, a nice rose, and he smells it, perfect coordination. The fool like just grabs his thorn and just like jams it in his nose, and it's going to be this painful thorn. He won't understand why he's getting hurt by this rose. Okay, so too the mashal in the mouth of a fool. He's not tasting at all from the fruit, but rather from the prickly husk, and from what's around it. And he'll be damaged by it when he puts it in his mouth. I don't know why he goes into the fruit analogy, but just the sense he's getting is, so let me just associate this to what you were saying, Isaac, and remind me if I'm misunderstanding or clarify for me that like this guy is trying to get chachma, right? But because of his ksilus, whether you say it's because of his taiva or whether you say it's because of his like intellectual, rushing to conclusions or whatever, he lunges for what he thinks is the fruit or the good smell, and it ends up he misses out on the good thing, gets the bad thing, and then wounds himself from the grabbing onto like the smaller thing or the inferior thing. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions
Sure.
on this. One is why do Mishalim have these thorns around them, so to speak, prototypically?
Right.
The second is, does this contrast at all with the imagery that we talked about before with different shiurim? About Mishalim are like the golden apples encased in silver.
Right.
Because you think like you're not going to be harmed by taking the silver.
Right. So I think that is the answer to your first question is answered by the second question, which is that Mishalim by their very nature have two levels, the external and the internal. And I think there are certain mishalim where you will not be harmed by taking it in the external sense. Like that's my understanding of how Mishlei is written, is that he wrote all his mishalim where the external layer is silver, which means it's valuable, just not as valuable as the inside. So if you take Eshes Kyle as being about a literal woman, you'll get great ideas. But if you take it as a mashal for whatever you say it's a mashal for, the intellect with a good psyche, whatever, then you'll get even more valuable ideas. But let's take, for example, a gadata, where the external is not necessarily silver. There are certain categories where the external is silver, but then there are other ones where the external is thorns. And if you just take the klipa, the prickly klipa, you'll get hurt by it, taking it literally. Right. If you think that God literally wraps himself in a talus,
right,
or puts on
why are
film.
they thorns then?
So you mean why did Chazal, or why do people who write Mishalim like that write it in those ways?
Yeah.
So this is something I've always struggled with, which is the answer that I've heard, and I've heard this from various Rebbeim of mine, which is that Chazal never thought that people would be so stupid so as to take these Mishalim like literally, was it?
I think the Rambam says that.
It's possible the Rambam says that, but I'd have to confirm that because I don't know for sure. In the same way as if I said today, the boy who cried wolf, and you said, tell me his name and his location and the year that it happened, then no one's gonna think that I'm actually talking about a literal boy who cried wolf, or if I said a fable or a quote from a movie, no one's going to think that the movie is actually real. The difficulty I have about this is that the Rambam puts so much of a emphasis on how the pesi, how the naive simpleton takes mashalim, and people like that were around in the time of Chazal, and Chazal were masters of psychology. So did they really think that no one would take these things Literally? Like I've always been bothered by that. Yeah.
I mean, the Talmud wasn't for the masses. It was only the Chachamim who knew it. So.
Right, but even in that thing, I mean, there's a I think it's in Masechah Sofrim that they had a debate whether to write down Agadata or not, because right, and so Kosei Agadata's in Lohem Chelik Haba, right? So they were aware that there was a danger in writing down the Agadata, and moreover, they realized that they did not write down like Ma'aser Merkava and Ma'aser Bereishis, and they realized that there's a danger in people's psyches going out of control and like projecting imagination onto it. So that's why I like to me.
In terms of that,
Yeah.
I think like that's something where even like tell me to might like error in it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it was like the Gemara was limited to just like the Chachamim and the Talmidim who are learning from them.
So just to make sure that you understand where I am objecting, where I'm not, is in terms of formulating it this way, I have no objection to. But I'm saying writing it down, then they were aware of the danger.
Yeah.
You know, like because if it's just bal peh, you can choose when your Talmud is ready to hear this, and then like and if you were to say that Chazal knew that this was a danger and they wrote it down anyway, because of the value, I would be fine with that also.
Yeah.
I'm objecting specifically to the thing I've heard that Chazal never in a million years thought that people would take written midrashim literally. I just don't buy that, you know. I'm sure they knew also, yeah. So, but so the answer to the question is the reason they originally formulated it that way was either because like, you know, this was a good like it was a good muscle, you know, like either good because intellectually like it encapsulated the idea really well, or it had a certain emotional impact, you know, like the idea of God putting on tefillin, like I don't know if that's, you know, how much of that is for the idea and how much of that is for the emotional impact, or if you want to take this idea that you know, I do know that the Rambam does say that they wrote it this way to intentionally conceal it from people, you know, and that a person who is an astute Talmud would look at this, say, this is a crazy statement. I know it's not literal, but I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a stay away sign, you know. Yeah, it's a good question. I'd like to revisit the question about why they wrote it this way. But I'm just going to clarify that in Mishlei, he did not write anything that is like that I'm aware of. In other words, all of the mashalim, if you take their external meaning, it is also useful, and then the inner meaning is more useful. Yeah.
Haven't you had psukim where like the pasuk is like false, like it's like for rhetorical effects?
That is true also, right? That is true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then that would be the exception. Yeah. So let's summarize this for today, and then tomorrow, in addition to going over like meforshim in this pasuk, I want to do that in Meiri. That's on all three of the psukim in the sugya. Okay. So the summary here is we have three approaches, right? So Yaakov's approach is that just like a drunk person is not sensitive to the pain of the thorn in him when he should be, so too a person who is a ksil will not have the proper sensitivity to the mushal itself, and it won't have the impact on him that it's designed to have. And this is good to differentiate it from pasuk Zayin, because Zayin was really about the intellectual content of the mushal, and this is about the emotional content of the mushal. You know, so that really works. According to my approach, that it's talking about the fact that the ksil doesn't realize how much he's being harmed by taking the mushal in the wrong way. And that causes more harm, you know. And according to Ariel / Isaac / Saadia way, then say it the way you said it again. I like the way you said it.
So like not like knowledge has like nuance where like you have to be like careful to avoid thorns.
Right, exactly. So just to meld that with a Rav Yosef and Kaspi, that rose is a beautiful, pleasant thing, but you have to approach it carefully and make sure that you're getting the right part of it in order to get the benefit from it. And if you are hasty or uncoordinated or whatever, you're going to end up poking your nose. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's stop for today.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So sometimes the Svara needs a